Okay. Thank you so much, Britta, for including me in this event. It's so nice. It's a really great way to be welcomed to the department. So I'm going to be talking about my research on the Orphan Hero, an Italian Renaissance epic. So the Orphan Hero is a topos you may be familiar with, although it hasn't gotten a ton of critical attention per se. So these are epic heroes who, as children, are separated from their parents in some way. And my broad contention is that there's a relationship between characters who spend their childhoods away from their parents and their subsequent development into a hero. So some of the more famous examples of this from ancient epic are Romulus and Remus, and who are nursed by the she-wolf, Achilles, who's trained by the centaur Chiron, and Camilla, who's exiled from her birthplace and nursed by a mare, and ultimately becomes a warrior queen. So we then see a proliferation of this character in Renaissance epic. So my critical inquiries are to understand what links orphanhood and heroism in the epic, and why poets might deem this a tradition worthy of continuation. So to begin to answer these questions, I first have been looking at the two most prominent Italian Renaissance epics, which both feature orphan hero characters. The first is Ludovico Ariosto's Orlando Furioso, and the second is Torquato Tasso's Gerusalemme Liberata. But my main focus is actually on 4 women writers of Italian Renaissance epic. Their poems are much lesser studied because they were writing epic during a time period when epic was mainly considered a male pursuit. So I'm trying to explore the extent to which these 4 female authors fashioned their orphan hero to fit an early modern feminist purpose. And my 4 authors are Tulia d'Aragona, and her poem is Il Meschino, Morata Fonte, her poem is Il Floridoro, Margherita Sarrocchi, and her poem is La Scanerbede, and Lucrezia Marinella, and her poem is L'Enrico. I'm just going to give one example here, and then I'll summarize some broader conclusions. So Floridoro by Morata Fonte is an unfinished chivalric romance, and it's similar in format to the Orlando Furioso. It has a lot of interweaving plot lines and different knights and jousts and dragons and monsters. It's set in medievalized ancient Greece, I should say. The protagonist is an orphan hero. Her name is Risamante, and she's separated from her twin sister at birth. And it's already remarkable that the protagonist should be these 2 female twins, and that their story should be the main focus of the narrative here. Risamante grows up under the tutelage of a magician, and he teaches her how to become an outstanding warrior. And her sister instead remains in the palace with her family. So through her portrayal of the contrast between these 2 twins, Fonte argues that martial skills are not innate, but instead taught. And as you can see in this quotation on the slide, she uses this example to propose that women are in fact endowed with the same faculties as men, but they're simply just not given the opportunity to exercise them because of societal constraints. So the fact that Risamante is an orphan is precisely what allows her to develop her talent as a hero. So her princess sister, who is identical to her in every single way, except for the fact that she grew up away from or with her parents, lacks any heroic tendencies at all. So she exemplifies the alternative life Risamante would have led had she grown up with her parents. So aside from training, what is it in particular about orphanhood that would make Risamante a more likely hero than her sister? I believe that it comes down to vulnerability, which is literally the capacity to be wounded. So classicist Marina McCoy argues that vulnerability is an essential attribute of ancient heroes because they obtain glory by confronting their mortality, which is their capacity to be fatally wounded on the battlefield. I extend this to Renaissance epic heroes and propose that the emphasis for the Renaissance heroes is on the emotional vulnerability, which is inherent in being parentless. So Rizamante is stronger than her sister because she's had to overcome this disadvantage. And indeed, her vulnerability provides the motivation for her heroic quest, which is to regain the inheritance that was denied her because of her orphanhood and reinstate herself in her dynastic line. So this question of inheritance rights is emblematic of a larger issue within the Renaissance, which is an increasing concern for filial legitimacy, especially during the Counter-Reformation, which is when these works were written. So my contention is that this is why the figure of the orphan hero becomes ubiquitous in Renaissance epic, because dynasty and genealogy play a large role. And by creating heroes whose legitimacy is at first questioned and then confirmed in a dramatic moment during the narrative when the heroes discover their parentage, authors can verify the character's worthiness as heroes, as heroic subjects. And then this in turn underscores the nobility of the author's patrons, who are usually the supposed descendants of the heroes who are praised in the poem. And finally, for the female epic hero, as for the Renaissance female author, proving one's legitimacy is even more difficult and then therefore even more crucial. So the female authors revised the orphan hero character from its standard version, giving more skill and independence to women, and then were supplied by the canonical poets, and showing that questions of female agency are very much a part of their thinking at the time. And that's it, thank you.